Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to our second series of the webinar. So yesterday we with you discussed about major instructions of our contest. So the first webinar was mostly devoted to the instructions, general procedures, what do we expect, etc. So, but today we're with criteria and lesson plans, how they should look like. But today we will be focusing more on the methodology, really on methodology. What do we expect to see there? Uh, no sound. Somebody says no sound. Can you hear me?
Yes, sound is good.
Okay, Saulia, we have sound. Dina, maybe you can type and answer them. If they're saying there is no sound, maybe you can respond to them because we have sound. Because I see here and think, can you hear me or not? Okay, so today we will be focusing on the methodology more. We will try to provide you more support how to design your video lesson. Okay. So by the end of this workshop, so your videos, before we start, let me mention, so your video lessons could be anything you want. It could be on any learning objectives, on any strands like speaking, reading, listening, writing, use of English, any of them. But today I decided just to focus on how to present maybe grammar, and that could be as a framework for you to work and figure out how to promote, how to present, for example, other skills. So this input session will be mostly focused on grammar, but you can use any this one as a framework for other strands. Okay. So by the end of this workshop, you will be able to recognize the importance of teaching grammar in context, identify the difference between deductive and inductive ways of teaching grammar, stage grammar lessons appropriately, use textbook grammar activities effectively, use various techniques for presenting grammar in context. So you will often hear here a word as context. Try to understand the meaning of this word. If you haven't heard this word before, so try to really understand the importance of the context. It's not only about teaching grammar, contextualized language learning is, it doesn't matter if it's grammar, listening, reading, or any other skills, but contextualized teaching languages is the most important. So you can use this this framework, as I keep repeating, because don't think we expect you to prepare your lessons only on grammar. It's okay to use any other strengths, any other skills. This is just one of the kind of like frameworks for you. Okay. So here is some a joke meme for you. I love grammar. It makes people cry, especially our students when they learn English grammar. Not everyone likes it because maybe it sounds so complicated and boring and difficult. But it depends on the teacher how you present it to your students, to your learners. Okay. So now I want you to look at this slide, and I want you in your maybe individual. Okay, maybe you can do that individually, because how many people we have here? I'm not sure. Do you know how many people we have here? My thing doesn't show. Oh, okay, 32 people. I'm not sure if I want to divide you into groups. but maybe just individually, I'll give you like 5 minutes. Look at this slide, these tables, and try to make one coherent sentence according to these rules. Okay. Let me see the time. So we have now is 4:08. So let's have 5 minutes. I'll give you 5 minutes and look at this grammar rules and try to make up a sentence. Mm-hmm. Do not write anything in the chat yet. Just think yourself and then try to make up a sentence. And then when I ask you to write in the chat box, only that time, please type it in the chat box. So look at this table. So you see here instructions, work in groups to compose one coherent sentence according to the given rules. Do you see the slide, right? It's not in groups, but work individually instead. So work alone and make up one sentence according to the given rules. So just try to figure out. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think I see some answers in our chat box. Maybe Jazira, I see here, maybe Jazira or Batima, maybe you wanna turn on your microphone and explain your sentence. What did you write? Maybe Jazira or I see here Alexandra Sabo, or maybe I'm saying incorrectly your last name. Apologies, but maybe you can explain what did you write? Can anyone explain what did you type?
Good afternoon. I wrote I eat fish. I for io, eat for еду, and fish ика. Io еду ика.
Okay, okay, thank you. Anyone else want to explain?
Maybe I write the same sentence in the past form.
Okay. in the past? How did you do that in the past?
Io, еду он, Ика.
Uh-huh. Okay. So how many answers we have here actually? Let me see. Yeah, we have quite a lot answers, but still it's not all the how many not all the 36 people wrote their answers in the chat box. How do you feel when you when you saw these instructions? How what was it easy for you to understand the instructions, or this task? Was it easy or difficult? What did you feel, Jazira? For example, maybe you can answer.
It was difficult for me, but I just remembered that we had a course in August and I remembered everything.
Okay. Okay, do we have here anyone who wasn't on my course before? Do we have anyone who wasn't and who's seeing this task for the first time?
Let me answer maybe. I have seen the task for the first time, and it was rather interesting because I have to take into consideration not only the structure of the sentence, because that is one point sentence structure. It is rather different from what we have in English, both, and in Russian, verb, subject, and object. And first, I have subject on the first place and the verb. So I have chosen the structure of the English sentence.
Okay.
And besides, we should take into consideration the tense form, future or past. We have got only two examples. And of course, the plural or singular form of a noun. So everything should be taken into consideration and should be paid attention to.
While Irina was talking, it sounded like some formula, some kind of like scientific formula going on here. Subject, object, past, future. Do you think do you think it would have been difficult for your students to understand and to make up sentences using this formula?
I think it would be very interesting for them.
Interesting.
And yes, and sometimes when making a sentence, a student, less able student, feel like we are. Very
Okay.
much alike.
Okay, let's see. Because I know lots of, okay, we'll talk about that later. Okay, thank you. Let's move on. So let's look at this case here. Can someone read this case for me, for us? Do we have any volunteer to read this case out? Who wants to read this slide? You can turn on your microphone and read this case. Just to read. Hello? Any volunteer?
Извините, у вас здесь вот слайды есть? Я ничего не вижу. И первое
Не
задание не
видно.
видно.
А вам видно, коллеги?
Видно, все хорошо.
Да?
Okay. Can
У
someone
меня
read?
нет.
Maybe I will read if no one.
Okay.
So they spent a lot of time preparing a grammar lesson on how to use when with her 5th grade students. She explained the rules, then used a variety of sentences that provided examples of the rules and explained this to students. They then completed some gap fill sentences, which they all got correct. A few days later, Saule collected in some written paragraphs from her students. Their writing contained a lot of mistakes, particular mistakes in the way her students used when. Saule felt a bit frustrated because her carefully prepared lesson hadn't seemed to be of any use.
Okay. So, what do you think about Saulia's case? Why do you think so? You read the case and you see that she's been preparing her lessons so thoroughly, having different, she explained the rules, then they did gap fill sentences, drilling this grammar, but a few days later, they totally forgot all what she's been teaching them, and they made lots of mistakes. So what do you think, what would happen? How would you give, what kind of advice you would give to this teacher, to Saulia?
So hello, Albina. Hello, everyone. This is me, Irina Folenweider. I think, Albina, the main reason of the failure is that it was teacher-centered lesson, but not a student-centered. A teacher worked hard for the whole lesson. She explained, she used a variety of sentences, but she gave them just some sentences, some gap-filled sentences to practice. So she didn't provide a lot of practice at the lesson. Maybe that is just one of the reasons.
How do you think, why you how you identified that this is a teacher-centered lesson?
Because in the text, I came across the sentences. She explained the rules, then used a variety of sentences, and students, they then completed just some gap-filled sentences. I think practice makes perfect. The more practice, the better.
Okay. Thank you. Wow, Irina, thank you so much. By the way, we have here judge panel as Irina Folenweider, Saule Zikirina, who's else in the, I mean, these are the main panel judge of this contest. So thank you so much, Irina, for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Any other opinion? Any other ideas? Anyone else wants to add something? Don't be afraid, don't be shy. Okay, so oh, I forgot to go to this slide. How could you help Saulia? What do you think was right, wrong with your lesson? So we discussed it, okay? So let's look back to this, not here, okay. So we as Irina suggested, so that was more teacher-centered approach because the teacher explained the grammar rules and there was not enough practice for students. Okay, so we will go back to this case. Don't think I'm just skipping or forgetting. We will go back to this place, to this case. So grammar teaching, like teaching the 4 skills, should have pre, while, and post staging in the lesson. So that means it's not about only we as teachers, we know that when we teach students listening, for example, we need to make lesson with pre-listening, while listening, and post-listening stages of the lesson. But the grammar is not an exception. So even with grammar lesson, it should be pre, while, and post. Therefore, it means any lesson should have mostly 3 stages, right? Pre, while, and post. You can call it different ways. We can call it like you yesterday saw in our lesson plan. What was the name there? Starter, main part, and wrapping up. So it could be different name, but if you look at this, at any lesson holistically as a methodologist, let's say as a teacher with teacher's eyes, any lesson should have 3 main stages of the lesson. Okay, so in pre-grammar stage, bring grammar instruction to life, stimulate interest in the topic, and raise awareness by providing a reason for learning. So it could be a lead-in activity with a picture. You can show a meaningful picture, situation, or anecdote. Don't think it's anecdote like it's a false friend, so it's not a anecdote. Anecdote here means like a story. Yeah, bring a story from life, maybe a meme or anything else you could think of. You can give your example. So in a pre-grammar stage, the context is the most important. So that's what I was talking in the beginning. Think that you should always think about the context. Where is the context? So here is a great examples of how you can start your lesson with leading activities. So this is the main pre-grammar or lead-in part of the teaching grammar lesson. So while grammar stage, so okay, you made a lead in, you introduced, you showed maybe a picture, you made your students interested. So what is in while grammar? While grammar stage facilitate noticing of the new grammar point and providing meaningful input through contextualized examples, pictures, and texts. So noticing, what does it mean by here in this context? Noticing, when you make your students to notice, to pay attention, to see some specific patterns or consciousness awareness, we call it a consciousness raising. So you make them notice, to see, pay attention. Okay. So let's see, let's look at this example here. Dina, maybe you can read this again for us, or maybe anyone else. This example.
Okay, sure. A long time ago, I lived in China. I worked in a small school and I like it very much. Sometimes I walked to school early in the morning and sometimes I stayed in bed a bit later. I always started my lessons on time though.
Okay. So, Dina, what do you see here? What do you see in this example? Do you notice
I
anything?
noticed the ending. The ending. It's underlined, but I think without underline these words, we will notice that there is specific ending, yes, in the verbs.
Yeah. So here, yes. So we give this example as a noticing. So we make students notice, замечать, yes, or you make them to notice and pay attention, not just give them the rules first, but make your students use their thinking skills. Okay, so and ask them, so what do you see here? What is noticeable for you? Do you see any specific pattern? And I think even the less able student can see here a pattern pattern like dynamic here. Dynamic as, why in every sentence here I see ed underlined? So maybe something here. So this is what we call noticing. Make them think first what they see here. Okay, so this is what I was talking here, noticing and consciousness raising. So you're trying to make them conscious, to make them pay attention to the grammar structure in your input. Okay. In the post grammar stage, provide an opportunity to put grammar to use and relate grammar instruction to real life situations. So after you showed them some examples, you may explain the grammar. We don't say you shouldn't be explaining your grammar yourself, yes, but make them first think about that grammar, make them notice that grammar themselves, and then you may explain it. And after that, you should practice that grammar in real life. So here are some examples how you could practice that grammar with your students. It could be mechanical drills. Look at this mechanical drills. Look at this. So here are some examples. But what are the disadvantages of mechanical drills? That they are just like parroting pattern, I would say. So parroting, we know that beautiful bird from exotic countries where they just repeat after, you know, they tend to repeat what people say. So here's the same thing. When a student just parrots a teacher or parrots the pattern here, so they just repeat it. There is no really thinking, there is no context, but just trying to repeat the pattern. So look at these examples here. Can you turn off your microphones, please? У кого-то микрофон включен. Проверьте, пожалуйста. So now let's look at the meaningful drills, which is opposite to mechanical drills. So let's look at these examples. Maybe you can tell, what do you see? What are the examples between meaningful and mechanical drills? So here's still some drilling with exercises, but here we can see meaningful drills can help students develop understanding of the working rules of grammar, because they require students to make form meaning correlations. Their resemblance to real life communication, is limited by these exercises, but still there is some improvement than what we saw in mechanical drills, but still not the best way how we would drill there or practice the new acquired grammar input. So let's look at the communicative drills, what they could be. So let's look at this exercise. Maybe Dina, you can help to read this exercise from a textbook.
Okay, say what you and your family usually do on Fridays and what you and your family are doing now.
My father usually visits his brothers on Friday. He's working now. So do you see here is a pattern of these differences of drilling? What can you see here? What is the major difference between mechanical and meaningful drills in communicative drills? So maybe this drill is more personalized, and it's more related to the real life of your students. So it's not just we are talking about someone else from the textbook, but this is specifically exercise is about you. And as a human being, it's in people's psychology or in their brain. When it's something about you, it makes more interesting for you to talk. So instead of drilling about someone else in their exercises, if you ask them to talk about themselves, it's more meaningful to them. So this is what we call meaningful language learning. So it's more meaningful and personalized and connected to the real life of your students. Okay.
Well, Albina, and I just wanted to add that it is closely connected with Bloom taxonomy. Firstly, it is knowledge, then understanding, then application with the help of the algorithm, and then so students should work at the levels of analysis, evaluation, and synthesis. That's right. The further the better.
Yes.
But it is connected with Bloom taxonomy.
Yes, true. Because if they're just mechanically drilling, is it higher order thinking skills? I think it's more lower order thinking skills where you just practice rote learning, just like зубрежка.
Yes, it is more valuable. Yes, it is more meaningful and valuable.
Yeah, so this is what we mean by communicative drills. So here's just a list of techniques. How can you present grammar? So using visuals, as we mentioned before in the pre-grammar stage, using realia. Does anyone know what realia is? Any idea what does it mean? I can hear someone's microphone. I think it's Gilnara, your microphone is keep turning on. Yeah,
So it is, well, Albina, I'm so sorry for interrupting. It is closely connected with the styles of learning. We know that some of the students are kinesthetic, some of them are visual, some of them are audials. And it is very important to support these all three styles of learning. And that's why when we use visual, so just methods, object things, yes, and really we just support students to obtain, yes, and to acquire these materials.
Yeah, so you actually made a good point. So your visuals is, let's say it's more for visual learners who likes to see something. I'm actually a visual learner too. When I learn something, it's not enough for me just to hear something, I need to see it. So in that case, I only really understand and remember and try to apply it. And realia is something, a real objects when as I saw someone text it in the chat box. So it's something, for example, if you have your young learners, and if you have a topic as, let's say, maybe you need to teach them, I don't know, maybe you need to teach them a new word as a chocolate, and instead of just saying the word chocolate, maybe you can show them, this is a chocolate. So and I can say maybe, for example, this is a Christmas tree. So instead of just saying Christmas tree, so it's better to use realia, something real object in your classroom. Or for example, if you're maybe, I don't know, mirror, instead of just showing a picture of a mirror, if you have that real object in your classroom, so it's better to use with your students real objects in your classroom, especially for young learners. I would even use with adults, but especially I'm just emphasizing with young learners, it's so crucial to use realia in your classroom. And as Irina said, again, it's for different types of learners, styles of learnings. For kinesthetic learners, when they like to touch something, not just see and hear, but when they learn by doing. So touching, you know, interacting with these things. Okay, so using songs also could be another great technique to present your grammar. Timeline, I'll show you a little bit later what timeline is. Using different charts or tables could also be good. Personalization, as we already mentioned, is something personalized, is something about your learner. Instead of just asking them to do some exercises, if you ask them, if you're teaching, for example, past simple, you might ask them, what did you do last summer, for example. I'm just making an example right now. So this is personalized exercise because it's about your students, about themselves. So it's from the word persona. So personalized exercise is more beneficial. So here, how do you think what I'm showing to you here? Do you recognize anyone? Maybe recognizes? What do you see here? Let me check our chat box. Okay.
Timeline.
Timeline, yes. So especially crucially when you introduce grammar to your students, it's really necessary to use timeline because it visually helps your students to understand this complicated English grammar. For example, especially in times with past or any with any grammar in English could be helpful for your students to see it visually. Here's also another ways you can use visual organizers or graphic organizers could be also useful for you to present grammar to your students. Here are some also games and puzzles. You could different way use it. You can take a look. Here's different examples how you can utilize and teach your students grammar. So let's go back to what we've been talking. So here, going back to Saule's case, how do you think, what was her, again, going back to her case, how do you think, what was her major problem here? Did she try to make it more personalized to her students? Did she present the grammar, or maybe did she make any context first here? Do you see anything after what we saw during the slides in this presentation? Do you see here any noticing she tried to use with her students? Yes, I see your answers here.
Well, Albina, it is said that she explained the rule, but we don't know how she did it. That's why we should recommend you to make her grammar explanation more graded and not to forget about 3 stages of grammar lesson, pre, while, and after.
Yeah, so obviously Saule didn't really, yes, I see here many examples, many answers saying mechanical drill only. That's true. Here we can see that was gap fill sentences is a mechanical drill exercises. So we don't know if she did any pre, as Irina said, pre, while, and post. We don't know. I assume she did only presenting, there is no context. Did she set the context? Did we see it? I don't see here that she set the context, because setting the context in the beginning of your lesson is very, very important. That's how make your students think and remember and memorize your input of your lesson. Okay, so let's look at this example. How do you think? So remember this first slide. Looking at this slide, was I trying to do here with you noticing, or was it just a mechanical drill here? So when your students look at this, imagine you're a student. Do you think it will be easy for you to understand grammar rules looking at this table? Well, to me personally, when I looked at this table, when I looked at this chart, it was so difficult to understand. Actually, honestly, I still don't understand, and I'm very happy that some teachers really figured out and understood how to make a sentence according to this table, but to me, I still do not really understand how to make a sentence according to this table. So the main point is here that that you see this foreign language. It's not English. It's obviously foreign language. So when you present to your students grammar with tables, with charts like this, most of them, for most of these students, it's really difficult to understand grammar because of the way how you present that grammar. To them, it looks like gibberish here, like some alien language for your students, because the way how you present it is really complicated and difficult for you as a teacher. Yes, you say, oh, this is so great chart, this is so great table, they're gonna understand, it's so easy to understand. But for you, it is easy to understand. For your students, for young learners especially, it may not be so easy and so simple to understand. So that is why it is very important for us as teachers to use all the three stages of the lesson: pre, while, and post. In pre-grammar stage, it is very important to set the context, to make some context via pictures or with a situation or any other leading activity. Так. Here, okay. So as teachers, again, we use two ways of presenting grammar. It could be inductive or deductive way of presenting grammar. So the way what you saw with Saulia, do you think is inductive or deductive way of presenting grammar? With Saulia, our case, was it inductive or deductive? You may just guess. Even if you don't know what is inductive and deductive, just you may guess.
I think it's deductive, because she gave the rule, she explained everything, she gave the whole picture of this grammar pattern, and only then she suggested them to practice it. But inductive way, it is when we reach the goal step by step.
Yes,
And
100%.
students by themselves should find the way how to formulate the whole rule. But here, in the case of Sauli, the whole rule was given. That's why I think it's a deductive way. Well, I'm not sure, but
yeah, that's right. Let's look at these examples here too. So Saulia's way was clearly deductive, yes, because she explained everything. She gave the chart with tables, with grammar, and then the practice. There wasn't noticing. So let's look at this example here. Do you think is this inductive or deductive way of presenting grammar? Look at this. Can you see it actually, or is it too small? You can write in the chat. Do you think it's an inductive or deductive?
It's too small, Albina. And what is the task for the first table? To complete it or to do what?
No, just look at how the material was introduced. Do you think it's inductive way or deductive way? How, in general, this material was introduced? We're getting some answers. So if we look, да, соглашусь, yeah, it's very little picture here, but you can, if you can see here, you see that just the grammar table is provided, and then the exercises here with the some grammar rules in the beginning. So we would consider this as deductive way of presenting grammar. Okay. Hopefully my second picture. Okay, let's look at this example. Think, it is bigger here. Is it inductive or deductive way of presenting grammar? You can write in the chat box if you want.
I think it's inductive because the case is given. The first two sentences: Sarah is in her car. She's on her way to work. She's she's driving to work. It is a kind of case. Students consider this case, and then they should. Yes, and only then it is possible to give them the form of the present continuous and to explain the room. And only in this case it is possible to come to any kind of conclusion. But firstly, I repeat it once again, the case is given, the content is given, and content is given, and the present continuous in the form of is driving is given in the content. Yes, context. And the context, yes, the students try to understand the form and the meaning of the phrase in a bold.
Yeah, that's true. This is an inductive way of presenting grammar. So first three sentences, they are the context is provided. So context is really, really important, not just jumping to the grammar, but before you need to set up a context. So as Irina said, is very, very important here in the beginning. You can see this first, Sarah is in her car, she's on her way to work, she's driving to work. So this is a context. And you see, they highlighted, she is driving to work. So this is noticing this author, whoever who wrote this author is trying to make a noticing, to make students to notice the pattern. You see, so, and then after that, he explains the grammar, and then maybe after that they have some practice. Okay, let's move on. I'm concerned about time. I'm not sure if you're gonna see this. Can you see? Maybe it's gonna be difficult for you because it's too little. So try to think if you can see. Is it a deductive or inductive way of presenting? Yeah, I think I see some people already see. So yeah, this is inductive way because again, look at this. It says look at these examples to see. So the author here is trying to give some examples. Examples means context again. So context and then the grammar explanation. So this is inductive way.
And Albina, what is precious? The picture is given, which supports the understanding. It is very, very important.
Yeah, also picture visualizing. And let's look at, I think it's last example here. Let's look at this last one. Is it inductive or deductive? Just type in the chat box maybe. Okay. Deductive, yes, I agree, because we can see here just presenting grammar without any context, just presenting grammar. Oh, okay, we have number 5 here. Let's look at this one. Number 5, the last one. Is it inductive or deductive way to present grammar? Somebody says inductive, somebody says deductive. How do you think? Is it inductive or deductive way? Inductive, yes, I would agree with you, because again, we see that here's some examples, and they make students notice, обращать внимание. Да, тут пытаются, чтобы ученик обратил внимание самостоятельно, not just giving the grammar rules, but they make them notice students with, you see, bold, in bolds, here's words like always, usually, often, sometimes, never, and only after that we can see the grammar rules. So this is inductive and deductive way of presenting grammar. Here I wanted to show you some video, but I'm not sure about the time now. I wanted just to show you. So now with video lessons, how can we use this inductive and deductive way to present grammar with our video lessons? Maybe I can quickly show you the beginning, and after that, if we don't have time, maybe I'll give you just links and you can watch yourself. Let me stop the demonstration first, I think. I just want to warn you from the beginning, do not think it's the best examples. It's just an example, but it's not the best, okay? Я вам сейчас покажу примерное видео, да, но я сразу предупреждаю, что это не идеальный вариант, это просто как пример. Да, это пример, но это не идеальный пример. Пожалуйста, не думайте, не берите это как за основу. Просто я пыталась как бы найти какой-то вариант, чтобы вам показать how to use inductive and deductive ways of teaching grammar, okay? Но ни в коем случае не думайте, что это идеальный вариант, okay? Tell me, can you hear the sound of the video?
Have you switched the video on, Albina?
Yes. А вы не видите, да, видео?
I see. Well, I see the picture, but I don't hear anything.
How to turn the... А как звук включить, интересно? Тут какие-то настройки должны быть, я забыла, как их тут настраивать. Так, никто не помнит, как тут звук включить.
Альбина,
включаете
нужно...
демонстрацию экрана, там есть вот внизу будет такой вот, надо галочку поставить, что совместное использование звука.
Все. Так, теперь скажите, слышно?
Yes, you are also right. His name is Giant Emin, and he is a TikTok's creator.
Очень тихо, но слышно.
Есть, да? Так, тогда давайте, может быть, другое видео. Так. А вот так вам слышно?
Grade 6. Lesson title is Бауыржан Момышулы, past simple.
Слышно?
Ровно так же, как и предыдущее видео. Такой же звук.
Ага. Окей, давайте попробуем на весь звук. So, давайте просто начало просмотрим, да, буквально 2-3 минутки. Окей? И and a task for you, задание для вас, да, я быстренько проговорю, потому что мы уже overtime. Просмотрите вот эти 3 минуты, да, первые 3 минуты, как учитель уже, с той информацией, что мы просматривали, изучили сегодня. Is it inductive way or deductive way? У кого-то микрофон включен и слышно музыка. Is it inductive way or deductive way, okay?
Look at this picture. Who is this man? Where is he from? What is his profession? Бауыржан Момышулы was born in Jambul region in 1910. Бауыржан began working as a rural policeman. After a few years, he became a military leader. He fought in many battles. Бауыржан wrote several books, including Moscow is Behind Us. People remember him as a people's hero of Kazakhstan. The underlined verbs in the text are irregular verbs. They are in the past simple tense. You see the second forms. You can find the second forms in the table of irregular verbs.
So I see here lots of comments. Maybe Ekaterina, you want to share why do you think this lesson is inductive?
Hello, can you
Hello.
hear me?
Yes.
I think that this lesson is inductive because at the beginning of the lesson, teacher give a text where pupils should notice the grammar rules. There's no grammar rules before an example. So that is inductive.
Yes, I would agree also with you. And let's look at this lesson as, do we see pre, while, and post? Well, maybe we didn't see the post because we haven't finished the video, but what do you think, what was here the pre stage? Что было для pre? Что тут использовалось для pre?
The picture, the photo of Бауыржан Момышулы and the text, I think. Yes.
So here...
and questions. Questions,
Yes.
of course.
Мы помним, да, с презентации, что были советы, допустим, на pre-stage использовать картинку, вопросы, ситуацию, да, so for the context here, we see a teacher use the picture and some questions to make them interested. Who is this? Okay, let's look at another example here. I want to show you here another
Where
example.
is he from? What?
Can you hear?
Past simple passive voice. Recognize the logo.
Вам слышно? Женский голос там должен быть.
Ну, хуже, чем в предыдущем видео.
Ну, давайте попытаемся тоже буквально пару минуток и потом.
Do you recognize the logo? Yes, it's a logo of TikTok, which is a popular social video sharing app. And do you know this man? Yes, you are also right. His name is Giant Emin, and he is a TikTok's creator. Now look at the sentences. TikTok created Jane Imin, and TikTok was created by Jane Imin. Think and answer 2 questions. Is the first sentence grammatically correct? Is the second sentence grammatically correct? Okay, the first sentence, TikTok created Jane Imin, as you see, is not grammatically correct, because TikTok is not a person and it can't create anything.
Okay, so what do you think? Is this lesson
Grammatically correct.
inductive way? Did this teacher try to present inductively or deductively? Hmm? Hello? Hello?
Alvina, is an inductive way of introducing grammar. It's undoubtedly because the teacher used visual, used some questions, brainstorming, and also give the student 2 examples to notice the difference between using passive and active forms.
What do you think? What was here context? What was teacher's context she used? Maybe you forgot. Maybe. So remember here, she started with her questions, asking them, do you recognize?
Yes, it's kind of hook, yes, hook that is very interesting for teenagers or for so for students of this age.
And Albina, we shouldn't forget that when we apply, when we use inductive method, we apply to students critical thinking. We set questions and make them think. We don't think by ourselves. We make them think. So this is the difference between deductive and inductive ways.
Yes, and I like that Dina used the word hook. That's hook means like крючок, да? Мы пытаемся их поймать на крючок, because everyone, so это для какого класса? Для 8 класса, да? So obviously in this time, all the teenagers know this logo. I think even my mom knows this logo. So it's TikTok. So, and I think when students gonna see this kind of lesson, they're gonna be, oh, this is TikTok. This is my favorite app, you know, I use. So it's gonna make them interested. So you're trying to hook them, да, поймать на крючок их внимание, их интерес. So this is something connected to their life. That is why it is very, very important to set the context. Set the context, я проговариваю постоянно, потому что установить контекст, то есть контекст, interests, their interest via examples, pictures, visuals. So this is самое главное, я думаю, это как вы начнете ваш урок, какой контекст вы установите. So here is a very strong context, I would say, especially for these teenagers with this TikTok. I think the teacher was really creative, you know, to make up this kind of lesson with TikTok because students really like it. Yes, so this is the main idea. But I'm telling you, I'm saying again, it's not the best lesson. Do not think it's, I'm showing you the best of the best. They are not ideal, they are not perfect, but it could be just an example for you how you can present your lesson, make your video lessons. And опять же проговорю, что ваш видеоурок, который вы готовите, не обязательно должен быть на грамматику. Это просто вот сегодня такой вот именно input был именно по грамматике. Но вы можете выбрать другой и на listening, и на speaking, и reading, на другие все тренды, которые вам более удобно работать. Окей, мы уже немножко по времени вышли, поэтому я проговорю, что на следующей неделе, в четверг, да, как мы договаривались, с 8 до 9 у вас будет вебинар, 3-й по счету, с Огастом Гарнси. Также я вам отправлю ссылку в четверг. Это какое число будет? Так, это будет четверг, это было дату.
14 будет января.
14 января с 8 до 9 вечера. В тот день я вам отправлю ссылку на вебинар. На этом вебинаре уже с Огастом Гарнси более будет у вас подробные по ресурсам American English. Но я бы рекомендовала вам уже начать изучение ресурсов American English, что вы можете взять с их сайта, потому что один из важных критериев – это использование ресурсов в ваших видеоуроках, использование ресурсов American English, окей? Если у вас есть вопросы, вы можете буквально, давайте 1 минутка, останемся. Если у вас есть вопросы, пожалуйста, напишите или можете включить микрофон и задать. И потом мы завершим, потому что мы уже over time. Ага. Если у вас есть какие-то специфичные вопросы, которые вы хотели задать, можете писать на почту, да, указанную, либо вот на почту, куда мы отправляем ссылки, либо которая в положении, куда вам угодно. Окей, коллеги, больше уже я переживаю, что вас задерживаю. Больше тогда не будем задерживать. Thank you very much for your time, for your dedication. Good luck and see you next week. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Goodbye.
Dina. Thank you, Irina. Thank you, all the colleagues who participated actively today. Goodbye.
Goodbye.